Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany
and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows
like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Cynthia.
And today we're talking about Season 3, Episode 15, titled Just Watch the Fireworks, air date February 15th, 2006. And the synopsis is...
Last year's time capsule is opened 49 years early, revealing many embarrassing secrets, lies, and even worse truths. Peyton prepares a benefit for the National Breast Cancer Action in memory of Ellie. Keith announces his engagement to Karen and his plan to adopt Lucas. Jimmy Edwards, who bagged the worst in everyone in his time capsule speech, gets roughed up. Dan reminds Keith how close they were as boys and hands him the black ledger. And then Nathan and Haley enjoy their closeness.
So I love how it starts with Nathan's time capsule.
Oh, right.
It was strange that it was Nathan's first.
Yeah, I guess besides for Jimmy, like he was the one that was saying the most hurtful things, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, but I mean, obviously Jimmy said, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably because he said hurtful things. But I mean, it was only to one person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it's playing on the TVs in the hallways.
All the TVs?
Yeah, we only see like the one or maybe two of them, but yeah, it made me think about...
Yeah, but they're in different hallways.
Yeah, so it's probably a couple TVs. Yeah.
So there's TVs like in every hallway and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, because that made me think of our school. Like, I think we only had maybe one on one side of the school and then a second on the other.
Yeah, I don't even remember the other one. I just remember like the ones by the office, and that was it.
Yeah, so or maybe that was the only one. And then we had the ones in the classrooms, but we didn't use those either. So
no.
Yeah.
But they were the size of them.
Yeah. But in this episode, they never came back to who even like revealed the time capsule. Right?
Who did?
Yeah, because we know it wasn't Jimmy, because he got
he would never reveal those. Yeah. So who did?
So I thought it maybe was Rachel, but then they never, gave hint of it being her or not.
Wasn't it her though?
I don't think so, unless they say it like episodes and episodes later. I don't remember.
I swear, I thought she said like it's episodes later, like
because like I know later on she steals.
Thought it was like fun.
Because I know she steals the key from the tutor center, so she could easily have stole the keys for the AV room. But I don't know. From my memory, I can't remember if she did or not.
Yeah, because I'm like, it wasn't anybody in the group because they would not want any of their secrets revealed. So,
yeah. And then Nathan continues, saying how that if you love somebody hard enough, then everything's gonna work out, but people are wrong. And Haley's watching.
50 years from now, hope you get what you wanted, Haley. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. So here's the thing. Like that's bad, obviously, but we all know he was vulnerable when he said that. But also, he's saying like it's being played in the hallways, and Haley's right there. It's like, oh. And then she's like looking all around, and then there she sees him standing there with his friends, who we didn't know he had other friends. And then she walks off because obviously it's so embarrassing.
Yeah, because he said that getting married to her was the worst mistake of his life.
Yeah,
and to never get married. Yeah, so and then in front of everybody.
Yeah. Well, then he said, in the end, you're only gonna be miserable. It's like, no, only you're gonna be miserable, clearly. But also, this is why you don't get married when you're juniors, because clearly you both weren't ready. I think if you're ready and you've dated a while, that's one thing, but they jumped right into the marriage and relationship. So they weren't really solid then.
Yeah, because my mom got married to my dad when I think right before what would have been her junior year. But she had known him for at least like 2 or 3 years.
See,
Not
that's the
even just dated
difference.
him. So yeah. So, but they had only maybe like couple months in.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm.
And they had so many like bad moments
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, could have wrecked them and
Yeah.
should have, I feel like. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah.
enough to be like, let's get married. I mean, it's like, no, let's work on our problems, then we can get married.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then Tim's tape plays. I actually didn't think we needed to see this again because he wasn't even in this
Why?
episode, really. Wait, what?
Why
Yeah.
was it in? So when I first saw it, I was like, Tim's coming back.
Nope.
No.
Mm-mm.
What? I was
Yeah.
so confused at that. I'm like, why are we watching Tim then? But then he brings up the part about Anna. Like there's this new girl, Anna, and I'm like, again, they're all from the previous season.
Yeah.
Why are
And
we bringing them up in season 3?
well, because technically they were only Anna and Felix didn't do this for some reason.
No,
But
Anna did.
yeah, so but they didn't even show her tape just because she's gone. But
Yeah, but Tim said in his speech it was about Brooke
mm-hmm.
first, but then it was about Anna, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously that's what he really said in the time capsule, because remember when they heard it, Mouth and Anna.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, why are we playing it? It's one thing to play Brooke's part because then she can get mad at Tim.
Mm-hmm.
But to bring up Anna, I was like, but she's gone.
Yeah, I think they're just playing his tape just to play it as a
But
little
don't you think that
time.
they should have only played people's tapes that actually meant something? Like
Well,
to the
maybe.
future or to right now, not something that's never gonna. It's one thing to like say something about somebody and then like have that person resurface or
Mm-hmm.
something. But like, I mean, kind of like the whole Jake thing. It's like obviously we know he's gonna come back for at least one more episode. But it's like just to play people's tapes that are never going to be seen again, or to say their names that they're never going to be seen again. It's just kind of weird. It's like it's kind of a waste of the episode.
Yeah, well, maybe they thought that Tim, the actor, was going to come back at some point, maybe for the next episode, but then didn't still. But yeah, maybe they just thought he really was going to come back. Because I didn't look this up, but he probably does have like a credit, even though he's not shown in the episode for Tim. But I think Rachel may have hinted that she could have released it because she walked up when Brooke was watching Tim's tape and she said she was this close to cutting school today. So maybe that was the little one hint that we got.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
she released
and clearly this school does not have cameras.
Wait, so they did this before Rachel came to the school, right?
The
Or
time capsule, yeah.
okay, so yeah, she must have found out about it later and then maybe decided to release it, but
Yeah, somebody probably was mouthing off about like, oh, about the time capsule. And then she was like, hmm. Or maybe somebody heard somebody said something bad about somebody on the time capsule. She probably was like, this will be interesting.
well, we know they put it in the very most noticeable place in that that I forget what's called, the thing that holds up a roof, a structure. I can't remember what the heck it's called. It's I was just re-listening to this episode and I'm talking about how funny it was that they made it up like that. But anyways, the little place where they have the plaque where the time capsule is, I can't think of the name for that one little block of what should be hard stone or whatever, but because outside Whitey and Mr. Turner head to the place where the time capsule is supposed to be.
By the way, there's the principal that we never see.
Yeah, and so my thing was, why did they go to check if the time capsule was there instead of turning off the tape first? That was wasted time.
You know what's weird? If every year the class does a 50-year.
Yeah.
You know how many tapes there are?
I know, that's what I was thinking too.
How is it they got one? Is only one in the wall? Like, how is it that you'd have to dig through it unless it said right on the tape, like 2006 or whatever. It's just, I'm like, that's the tapes in that wall or wherever it was.
I just remembered at the end, Whitey, when he makes his new one for the present day, he says he hasn't done this in 50 years. So I think they do this every 50 years with whatever class that is. So this year was
No, I think they do it every year, but they release it in 50 years. Like if we made one, if our class made one, it would be in 50 years. But then the next class, it would be 50 years for them.
Maybe, I don't know, because we didn't ever even see the other classes. So it's like they're the only class in the school.
Yeah, but remember, this is how TV works. It was the same thing with Dawson's Creek. We didn't see other classes.
Yeah.
We only saw them. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, they could have saved time, maybe even split up in one check to see if it's still there and the other one cut the tape, instead of them just going to the same place.
Yeah, why are they both running in the same place? Like that. And you know what the other thing too is? There's no other staff members.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like, where's all the teachers?
This is a big school. Where? Okay, and you have to think too, there's got to be like a staff member, right? In charge of all the media stuff, right? And technology. There's got to be like a teacher for that.
Yeah, but apparently it's not.
How? Yeah, how? It doesn't make any sense because there would be a staff member that'd be in charge of that, not a student.
Yeah, well, we know they don't like to have that many adult characters if they didn't need them.
Yeah, but couldn't they have said, well, we got to go find Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so to find out who did this? Like, and then you didn't have to show them on camera. You could have just, so we know that there is somebody in charge of this.
Yeah, because, we never see the cheerleading captain. We never see the teacher in charge of the tutoring center. So, like, nobody's a supervisor for anything.
Because then when Whitey brings in Mouth and Brooke, he could have been like, so I talked to whoever the media person is. And, like, Mouth, you were the last one with the key, or, you know what I mean? It could have been like that, of like, we know they went to the person in charge and now he's going to go after the kids. That sort of thing. Because so like we know like there's other adults instead of just these two. Because Whitey's a teacher. He's like Feeney. He's like a teacher for everyone and all subjects apparently.
Yeah, so when they're checking the time capsule, things look fine until Whitey moves the Friends with Benefit album posters.
Yeah. Well, that's because Turner was like, oh, well, everything looks good.
Yeah, the plaque.
Whitey pulls it's like, no.
Yep. Yeah, so it was made out of paper mache and just simply punched their way in to get it.
How?
I don't know. That was probably one of the most stupid things I've seen in a TV show. That's very unrealistic. Because there is no point in putting it in there if anybody can just do that. So, yeah, they could have. It would have been safer in a locked classroom than that thing.
That's where it should have been.
Yeah, so they go back into the school when Lucas's tape is playing.
Oh my God. And that's when he brings up about revenge on Dan. And what is up with Nathan's face? I was like, boy, you better knock this crap off because I'm about tired of Nathan. Like, and his little attitude towards Lucas and how he's treating Dan. Like, you should be treating him too like that.
Yeah.
It should be Lucas and Nathan against Dan. But for some reason in Nathan's little head, he doesn't believe that. Why?
I don't know.
Especially the way like he was being creepy towards Haley in the last few episodes. I feel like Nathan, remember, he likes to punch Dan out for saying crap about Haley. Where's that Nathan? Because I like that Nathan because that Nathan was totally different than like, the Nathan that hates Lucas for going after him. Like you should too of the way he was treating your wife.
Yeah, so they go to the AV room to shut it off, but someone broke the key inside the lock. So there's no way getting in. And Whitey says he'll call the locksmith and tells Turner to call the SWAT team because it could turn ugly. And then...
Yeah, Lucas is still playing,
Yeah, so Lucas is about to go after Nathan until he hears Brooke's tape about being married to Mouth in 10 years.
That was funny.
Yeah, and then some guys are sitting next to mouth, and react as guys do when a popular girl mentions, any guy. So Brooke smiles at mouth, maybe only slightly embarrassed, and then her jaw drops in horror because she remembers what she did next. So
Why?
I know. This was well. I mean, they did this in season 2. This was like more season 1 Brooke, but yeah, she thought it was gonna be released in 50 years, but still, she's underage, and like the girls mentioned, drama queens, it's considered child pornography. So the way that it gets out is really, really bad for her. Even worse. Yeah, so she tells Peyton that they have to turn the tape off right now. And Whitey and Turner see Brooke begin to take off her shirt, making Turner say to cut off the power. And Brooke asks if somebody's going to do something, but everybody's just sitting there watching. So Brooke grabs a chair.
That was funny.
Just as she was about to break the TV, and when she was about to take off her bra, Whitey cuts off the power.
But then it turns back on.
Yep, only for a second. I don't know how that happened either. That didn't make sense. And then it comes back on, so Brooke's boobs are shown to the whole school body. Brooke turns away and leans on Peyton, and turn tells Whitey he's canceling classes and sending everyone home, and tells Whitey to find out who did this, but of course he never did.
But who's the principal around here?
Right, yeah, I didn't know why he asked Whitey to do that, but
because it would be Turner to go, and he's the freaking principal.
Yeah, interrogate students, yeah. But then Jimmy's tape starts playing, and he says that a single person, this place is worth remembering in 50 years. So not to believe what they're saying. Everyone is a liar. He starts naming people. Now, this was just kind of slipped and kind of pushed to the side because it was so focused on Jimmy, yeah. But he did call out someone that needed to be called out, because he said that the first guy is apparently been slipping girls a date rape drug.
Yeah, I heard that, and I was like,
yeah. So yeah, he should have definitely called that guy out. But of course, we don't see the guy face any consequences, or at least they don't, investigate to see if this is true or not. And then he mentioned some very inappropriate things about a girl that was uncalled for, trying to like basically slut shame her and shame her of other reasons. And then people's looking.
Yeah, but I will say around this time, and maybe in the 90s and probably 80s, this was a thing that people would say of like, oh, don't worry about the quarterback because he's gonna be, he's gonna peak and he's gonna be ugly, like, and his girlfriend, isn't gonna be as perfect looking as she is as a teenager when she's in her 20s. Like, it's a thing that people used to say. So, and I think it goes with this day and age of TV back in 2006. I think that's what people would say and think. I mean, yeah, it is, but I'm just saying, like, for them, obviously you wouldn't say that now, hopefully, if you're doing a TV show, but if you back then, that is a lot of what people would say.
Right. And I'll just talk about the people he individually called out, and like about the girl that he talked about. And then so this is in Jimmy's classroom that they're in, and he's everybody's looking at him. He's in the back. And then Turner announces on the PA system, classes are canceled. Jimmy
he is the first one out the door.
Yep. Yep.
And you have to feel bad for Jimmy though. Like, he thought wasn't going to be revealed for 50 years, and he was going to be like long gone, out of Tree Hill, never seen again. And instead, it happens his senior year. I mean, that's the thing, is like, when they said be vulnerable in the time capsule.
Yeah, maybe not that much.
That's the thing. Like, what would you have talked about? It's like, I'm not going to be vulnerable because is it going to be revealed when I'm still around?
Yeah. They treated this as like maybe like a venting video diary minus Brooke, but yeah, they all kind of went too far with their tapes.
Yeah, but Whitey said to like get vulnerable. Well, they did, but at the same time, it came back and blew up in everybody's faces.
Right. And then with Brooks too, I'm thinking that maybe they should have like kind of, not the whole thing because that'd be time consuming as well, but just kind of like skimmed over their videos just to see what they said, be on the safe side maybe. I don't know. I know it would have been, too personal, crossing their privacy, but it just would have been nice if somebody could have saw Brooks first and maybe warned her or stopped her that maybe she shouldn't have done that or redo it or something.
They'd have to listen to 100 and some students.
Yeah, no, that's why I said not the whole thing, just like a little bit here and there.
Yeah, but you don't know at what point she's going to take off her top. So
yeah, well, you think they have a time
you'd have to
limit?
Watch her whole thing.
Yeah, you think they have a time limit, like maybe 2-3 minutes? I would think the most, maybe.
And who's really going to watch these time capsules in 50 years?
Yeah, because when you think about it, we know how much physical media has changed. Like they use videotape here, and now nobody uses videotape unless it's for like a project, like a film project or something. Nobody uses those kind of cameras to record things anymore, be a phone. So they'll be all digital and more easy to lose that way too. So, yeah, 50 years in the future, they won't be able to play these tapes. Literally everything no player will exist anywhere to use unless they somehow make it by scratch or something. But yeah, so that's
what
why,
is it like? Is it like every 5 or 10 years the technology has changed completely?
Yeah, so
it's crazy.
So either way, this was gonna either come out early when they could still play it, or just disappear, or just not, be shown ever again.
But that's what I'm saying. Like for Jimmy, like you got to give him a break because he thought it shouldn't have been played. So I mean, and he was told it wasn't going to be played. So I mean, you have to feel bad for the guy. Like everyone's giving him a hard time, and it's like, but people, this wasn't supposed to come out. Like, yeah, he trash talk you, but I mean, it wasn't supposed to come out though.
Yeah, it was
and I mean, he wasn't wrong for saying the things he was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his feelings.
Yeah, it was going to be like 50 years from now, they're all in their 60s, be like a reunion thing, and not everybody was going to show up. So that would have been.
I highly doubt even at the tenure, he probably wasn't going to show up. He probably was going to leave and just never come back. Which I don't blame him.
Yeah, so in this case, now every single person definitely sees it.
And the thing is, it's still the beginning somewhat of their senior year. Like, you've got all these months left. That's bad. I mean, it's not even like it just happened like the last month. This happened months before.
Yeah, last week or day. That would have been a lot better.
Yeah, that and like even Brooks tape, it's like that's still months that you have to like endure this torture from people. But I mean, for Brooke, you shouldn't have taken your top off.
Yeah, so I wish they kind of took more serious matters about this to figure out who did it, because the person who
expel him, whoever did this should have been expelled.
Yeah, that too. But also, get in trouble because like I said, Brooke's a minor, so it would have been considered child pornography.
Yeah, but she did it to herself.
Yeah, but the person released it. They probably didn't even watch her tape, but still, like, they would have been responsible for that getting out because they put it online too. So I feel like at that point, they would have definitely had to watch every tape to digitize it and put it online.
Well, especially at school when she had already done it and then it was out. It's like, obviously, whoever did that knew she had taken her top off. But I think releasing it, I don't think they should have gotten in trouble just because I don't think they knew what Brooke did. I think it was just like, it was for jokes of like, let's see what this is all about and let's see what everybody said. And I don't think they really expected Brooke was going to take her top off. I don't think that's why they did it. I think it was a practical joke that Brooke shouldn't have done. Like, it all comes down to the fact that Brooke is old enough to know not to do these stupid things. And yeah, she continues to do them.
Yeah, kids too. Sometimes not everybody is aware of what they should and shouldn't do like that.
I know she didn't have parents growing up, clearly, because her parents should have taught her right from wrong.
Yeah. So then when Jimmy gets outside, that's when Lucas and Mouse see him. And Lucas asks if everything's okay, But Jimmy tells Lucas, he didn't talk to him for a year and now he wants to be friends again. And Mouse tells Jimmy they just want to talk. And Jimmy says, again, forget it. They heard everything he has to say. And then Peyton's at home watching the time capsule online on her computer. And she's on Brooke's part just as Brooke walks in. So if it was me, I wouldn't really sit down to really watch everybody's time capsule, even though it's already out. I would feel like it would be,
hours worth.
Yeah, well, that, but like invasion of privacy, like it wasn't meant to be released yet. Like, or at least ask, like, can I watch yours? Before you do beforehand.
By that point, everybody's is out and everybody's seen everybody's. You're good.
Yeah, well, that's just me, I guess. And then,
Because I would want to see certain people's time capsule.
Yeah. So then Payne tells Brooke, there's good news and bad news, and Brooke, is on Peyton's bed with the pillow over her head, asking what could be worse than the whole school seeing your boobs. And that's when Payne says, the whole world seeing them. And then that's when Brooke sits up and, sees herself on the computer screen. And Payne says, whoever decided to unleash the time capsule early enough was nice to put on the web as well.
Yeah, that's when she said, I'm a internet porn. And then, talking about like some creepy guy's watching me right now. And then Peyton's like, that's not all he's doing. I'm like, ew.
Yeah, making it worse. Yeah.
It's so creepy.
But then it gets worse again because Payne tells her she ranked 23 on LimeWire.
So that's the good news.
Right. But then for some reason, Brooke's mood changes when she hears
she's all happy.
Yeah, because I'm like, do you know that means people downloaded this video of yours? I don't know how many times that would be to be 23.
She's happy that now she's 23. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about how many, but
that's probably at least some thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's so happy now that she's 23. She just perked right up for that one.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like that. So you're okay with that now?
I guess. Yeah.
All of a sudden, Brooke's okay with it. Okay. If Brooke's okay with it, I guess we're all okay.
Right. And then it gets to Jake's, talking about a girl he's seen and about their different experience levels, but he's doing something with her he hasn't done before, falling in love. And that's when Payne closes the website for the time capsule, and Brooke tells her she knows it's not easy for her to relive all this, and Payne says she's okay. She's not going to have a Jake down, instead of a breakdown, which was a good word in play. But Brooke says, but hearing her talk about how in love they were, and Payne says it's true, but it was amazing. And seeing and hearing again just makes, Brooke realize how happy she, Payne was. So then she tells Brooke she wants her to be happy again too. So she's just going to focus on, the good things in her life and get ready for Ellie's benefit concert. And that's when she shows Brooke the flyer for the event she made. Payne hopes, it goes well with ticket sales, but it hasn't been great lately.
I mean, it is a little weird that like, she got Follow Boy and what was it, Jack's Mannequin? And like some other people. It's like I mean, Peyton has never done this before.
I mean, yeah, she's thrown like events with maybe like one or two bands, yeah, but not something like this. It does seem like she's been doing it on her own too. Well, with a little bit of help of Haley, performing as well.
No, Ellie. Ellie's the one that was like a producer kind of behind it with Peyton, but how much pull could Ellie really have?
Yeah, I don't know. And you would think Karen would help her too, since it's that trick. I don't know. But yeah, but Payne's saying that because he got all these bands, the tickets are expensive, which makes sense. And then apparently Sunkiss is sponsoring the event, which I don't know how they did that either. But she wishes that there was a way to get more people's attention.
And of course, Brooke's got an idea.
Yeah, because she said, too bad I didn't put in a time capsule. And she explains that she can, can do this with the help of mouth. Because after her whole senator comment, he's so thrilled with her. He'd probably donate a kidney if she asked him to. And Peyton points out that's not like the first time she's ever told him that, because he mentioned it when they were on their boy draft date. And Brooke tells Payne that she never told Mouth about this, so how could he have known? So,
because he slipped up.
Yeah, because he also thought this wouldn't be released until 50 years.
Yeah, but because they wouldn't know that he said this twice. Yeah.
Yeah, but also too, he knows that Payne and Brooke are friends, at least somewhat, so it probably would have eventually got out somehow. So
in 50 years when he probably wasn't friends with them.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So then Haley is watching Lucas's tape online in his room. I was surprised she was in his room and not her room, but yeah. And
he doesn't have a room. Haley doesn't have a room.
I mean, yeah, Brooke's...
She shares with Brooke. I mean, Brooke would be in there, like... Yeah, she doesn't know Brooke's home.
Yeah, I guess. Unless Brooke said that she's going to Peyton's, but... Yeah, she's on Lucas's where he tells her that he loves her and misses her and just wanted to say goodbye.
And she's all happy because, she's just happy to hear all the nice things because all the bad things Nathan's saying. But she deserved it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Yeah.
she not realize who she was
Mm-hmm.
and what she had done?
Yeah.
This is my point. Is like she's playing the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were wrong. I don't know why we have to, put you as the victim card and blame Nathan for how he was acting.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying. It's like, Haley, just admit, like, you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She'll never admit that.
And then Lucas asks, what did Nathan say when she talked to him about this? And she says that she hasn't yet because she doesn't want to pry open old wounds. And Lucas points out that the time capsule already did that for her. And she says it sucks now because she has to get up on stage and sing for the benefit. So it's the worst time for it all to blow up again. And then Haley now asks Lucas what he said to Huda Girl, because of Brooke in her topless debut. And Lucas says that he told Brooke she looked beautiful, and he tells Haley if she gets in trouble with Nathan, or with Brooke, roll this one out.
So I didn't like when Haley was like, oh gosh, like, and I'm like, there was nothing wrong with what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want your boyfriend to say that.
Right.
You don't want to be like, oh, that was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
right.
Really, Haley?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could have said like inappropriate comment about maybe like taking off more clothes or something, or she looked hot.
But
Or
him just saying she
Yeah.
looked beautiful. I'm like,
Mhm.
what? That's something nice.
Yeah.
What is Haley like so upset about? And
Maybe just because we know of how she feels kind of about sex even after being married to Nathan. Like they've made her like more supposedly on the prude side, so maybe that's kind of that characterization coming back out. Maybe, I don't know, because she would never do something like this.
oh, but she'll get a tattoo of someone's number.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And then that's when Keith and Karen walk in, asking if they can
And
speak to
they're
Lucas.
engaged.
Yep.
It was weird because it's like they say, "Can we talk to you?" And then like Haley's really gonna just be there.
Yeah,
Like
well.
I was waiting for her to be like, "Oh, okay, bye. Like I'll see you later," and then them being like, "No, stay."
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, I
she
get.
just invited herself to stay, apparently for whatever kind of talk this was gonna be.
Yeah, well, they didn't really specifically tell her that she needed to go, and plus she's known the family all these
No,
years.
but they
So.
said, "Can we talk to you?" And I'm just saying, like, as a friend and human being who is not entitled to things like Haley thinks she is, I would be like, okay, like this is, like your parents or whatever want to talk to you alone. I'm gonna leave now. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't sit there and stay. You'd leave.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that she felt entitled. I mean, I get that she's like part of the family, but she could have at least played it a little like I'm gonna leave, even though she's not gonna.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't like that she felt like what? Like, what if they were talking like something serious to him that like he did, or
Mhm.
I just didn't like it. I'm like,
Yeah.
Haley, have some common courtesy to leave
Mm-hmm.
and then them welcome you in.
Right. And they're over the moon for them, and then this is a
And then there's
timing.
Nathan.
Yeah, perfect timing of him saying to never get married. You'll only end up miserable.
So what I found weird was that for this part, she was watching Lucas's tape, right?
Yeah, you.
Then it plays into Nathan's tape when on the time capsule, when we saw it, at the very beginning, it was Nathan's tape. Then eventually it goes into Lucas's tape and then Brooks. I'm like, how is it Lucas is now first and then Nathan?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought she might have like even paused it or something too, or else you would still hear it going on even when they walked in and said they're good news and everything.
Right. But it just didn't make any sense that Nathan's tape would be after Lucas when we saw Lucas's after Nathan's at the start.
Yeah.
It can't be one. It can't be both.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. And then we segue
I
to
know the editors. They screwed that part up.
And we segue to Nathan's where he's finishing watching his tape when Haley is standing in the doorway. And, Nathan starts to explain what he said on the time capsule, but Haley cuts him off saying that he looked beautiful. Of course,
So
Nathan doesn't understand this, but
I like when she brought up like their living situation and how good they thought they were doing, but clearly they're not.
mm-hmm.
I mean, because you have to think for like season wise, we aren't getting to the end. And they're still not living together. So I get where she was coming from. And also like school wise, it's now like January. Like they're halfway done with school and they're still not living together.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know it takes time, but it's like, for like show purpose, it's kind of like, okay, hurry it up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I did like what she was saying because it's true.
Yeah.
But I think, here's the thing with like Nathan. I think he likes living where he's living, but he gets the benefits of being with Haley.
Right.
Because remember, before they weren't sleeping together because they weren't married.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they're technically married, he gets the benefits, but he also can be like, I'm going to sleep alone tonight.
So you
That's
think
not something you can do when you're married.
Mm-hmm. So you think he's like trying to enjoy what the relationship they could have had if Haley didn't want to wait till marriage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because think about it. He gets to live in the big house, not
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about finances like he did.
Yeah.
He didn't have to work. Like if she was moody or upset at him, he would have to deal with it.
Right.
But here he can be like, don't talk to me. I'm going to go home. Like
Mm-hmm.
he can play this because, well, I can go home. It's like if you're dating, it's basically these two dating but he gets the benefit of marriage for sex.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nathan's loving that life, but see, Haley isn't because she's not in the big house.
Mm-hmm.
She's in a little corner in Brooke's apartment.
Yeah.
It's like, so for her, it's like, when are we getting back together? Because I cannot keep living like this. But for him, he's like, oh, I can keep living like this. You see my bedroom. You see like Dan's never home. My mom's in rehab. I get this whole big house to myself. It's like, what? So no, I do think that Nathan's enjoying his life. Because he does have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
No parents either.
No. Basically like Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
How she was when she was living in her parents' house, at least. And then in Whitey's office, he questions Mouth, given he's the head of the media club, and Brooke for being the president of the student council. Now, this was my question. How can she be president of the student council again if this is a new year and we didn't see her run again? Right? Because they have to run every year.
I don't think
Isn't
so.
that? I thought that's how it was, at least in our school.
I thought we voted once.
I thought we voted like every year for whoever.
I didn't think so. I thought we voted once and they were stuck with them for 4 years.
I could have sworn we voted at least twice. I don't know. Maybe we can ask JC if we remember.
Yeah, because I recall voting once and then that was it. I never voted again.
Yeah, because I felt like I voted twice and I was like, this is the same people again. So I just voted the same 4 people again, but or how many there were. But yeah, so yeah, that's my thought about that. But Whitey says, Brooke being the social butterfly, her and Mouth might know who caused the mess, and Mouth says he has no idea. Because apparently classes check out the keys to the media closet all the time. So it could have been anybody. I feel like that shouldn't be a thing. Like not everybody works or does something for the media club. Not everybody can be in that little room and that, for one club. So that doesn't make sense. And I feel like
media club was only Mouth and Gigi.
Yeah, so I feel like if anybody's going to have the keys, it would only be him. No one else would be allowed to have them.
And I feel like it would be kind of like a Dawson's Creek thing. Remember when Dawson wanted to check out the camera and then Nikki already had it, but they had to go through the teacher. I feel like that would be a thing of like the teacher is in charge and they will let you know if you can rent it out.
Yeah, but of course we know that they don't have a teacher for this.
They should have made one. Just never showed us who it is.
Yeah. And then, when Whitey asks Brooke if she has any idea, she looks at Mouth and says she can't think of anybody right now. So, of course, since we don't know anybody else that has well, apparently Miles says everybody has access, but really he should only be it. So of course I understand why Brooke and what he's told Peyton too about marrying him, that he has to be the one that probably released the tape. Is Brooke, Brooke saw it, thought right there. And then outside the hall, that's when Brooke asks Mouth, what kind of horrible person would pry open people's secrets. And Mouth acts like he knows something but won't say. So then Brooke brings up that Payne said that he wants to run to be senator, and she thinks it's a good fit since most politicians are liars, and then walks away. So now he knows that she knows what he said. Or he knows what she said.
But Mouth's reaction.
Yeah.
I was like,
he looked like he was guilty for something.
Right. Because I was like, but how does he know? Because like we know why she's mad and why she said that. But he's acting like he knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like we should have brought this back at some point. Like maybe okay, let's say Rachel did release it and he knew because the keys were missing, and maybe he
saw her do it.
Yeah, he saw them last. When he saw the keys last, he's with her. Maybe, I don't know. Like, give him a reason why he thinks that he knows who it is.
Yeah, because I was just like, he's acting like he knows, and it's weird. Because if he doesn't, then why is he playing it like that?
Right. And then back at Karen's, Lucas asks Keith if it's too late for his mom to get engaged to a plumber because he's looking at their sink right now. And Keith tells him he better watch his remarks because he thinks the engagement comes with full grounding privileges. And then he tells Keith that, he doesn't have to fix the sink. They're used to it, But Keith tells Lucas it's never too late to try and fix things. So, we know that this was a way of them saying, like, it's not too late to fix things with Jimmy and how their friendship fell apart. And then, Lucas tells him about it and everything, how dark Jimmy's tape was. And Keith says it didn't sound like the happy-go-lucky kid that used to come around the shop and quiz him on sports trivia. So I do kind of wish that we did see Keith interact more with the River Court boys because it's just mentioned, So
yeah, because it seems like he knew the boys a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but not because we didn't see them together.
Well, yeah, especially because like Lucas and Keith love sports. That obviously you would think Keith would like hang down there because like he's not a parent, he's the cool uncle. So because I mean, if there's like a parent around, you're like, go away. But if it's someone's aunt or uncle who's like fun, you're like, oh, come on, like you're one of the guys. And I just feel like maybe it's just weird. Yeah, it's weird. Especially because obviously they all had that one thing in common, which is sports.
Yeah, and then I just know that in the future too, we hear more about Keith and the boys. So it just kind of feels a little, you can't really, it doesn't make you feel anything just because you haven't, there's no proof that he had a bond with these boys. And then Keith asks Lucas if he knows what made Jimmy say these things, and Lucas says he hasn't seen him since he joined the basketball team. They kind of drifted apart.
Ding, ding, ding.
And then Keith fixes the garbage disposal, and he tells Lucas again it's never too late to fix things, and then says to Lucas that he has a preposition for him. It's off subject, and there's no wrong answer. And he says, to Lucas he loves him, and Lucas says, he knows, so what's up? And Keith explains to him that he talked it over with Karen, and if it's okay with him, he'd like to adopt him.
Okay, this was my problem. Keith has been like the father figure to Lucas his whole life.
Yeah.
Why is it when Keith says, think about it, like take time, think about it. I'm like, if it was me, I would be like, I don't need to think about it. The answer is yes. What?
Yeah, well, I think everything's it really depends on the person, the kid.
But Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas wise, yes.
He still wants Dan on his like what?
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, with Lucas, it should have been a no-brainer. But
I think, especially because it's like your dad is Dan.
Yeah, and I think Keith just wanted to like let Lucas have like his own choice about it, like give him space to really think about it. Like,
but it could have been very easily. You really think I want Dan as my father?
Right, yeah.
Like if I have a choice, it's going to be, of course, you 100%. Like he still could have had a little speech that was cute of like, yes, and like why he's saying yes right away. And also well, I was thinking too, it would be very easy for Lucas because he wouldn't change his last name. Still gonna be a Scott.
Yep.
But yeah, I was just like, Lucas, boy, why didn't you just say right then and there, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we did get a little hint because when Keith walked out of the kitchen, Lucas had a smile on his face, so you could see that he was going to say yes. But
Yeah, but he should have said then. Like
yeah,
he just took way too much time.
well, he says it
What's
later
there
in
to
front
think
of.
about?
Well, he says it later both in front of Keith and Karen, so maybe
Yeah,
that's why he wanted to wait to tell
later.
them both. Yeah,
Yeah, like what, days later?
right. Yeah, I don't know. And then at school, Brooke tells Payne all of her concert woes, and Peyton tells ex Brooke if she's planning to hand deliver a sold out concert to her. You know, how are they going to pull this off? And Brooke says sort of, but it's not going to be her hands that deliver them. And then they go to the poster board, or you know, in the middle of the quad with posters of Brooke topless from the time capsule, but over her chest is her holding a banner with the words "Fight Breast Cancer."
So now
And
Brooke's
then
good with it.
yeah, so she definitely turned this thing around, which I was glad for her. And to make it, you know, more of a, because it does get people's attention. We see the one guy not take his eyes off of it, and yeah, over the bike rack. So that was funny. But yeah, so I liked how Brooke took her situation and Payne's situation and turned it into a positive, so it could help them both out in a way. Especially too because we haven't seen Brooke, you know, help Payne with anything recently, so that was nice to see.
Or Peyton help Brooke. Like her fashion line, she wasn't there. She was stealing her boyfriend.
Yeah, so Brooke says she never thought she'd be able to say this, but at the end of the day, the whole town will have seen her breasts. Now her mom and her will have something in common. So, don't know what Victoria did for that, but Payne says to Brooke, you know, has she told her lately that she's her best friend, and they hug, you know. And then Dan shows up outside of Karen's house.
Why is he just like creeping like every day at Karen's house? It's so creepy. Like this man cannot let her go.
No. And then Keith walks out, you know, asking what he wants, and he tells Keith for them to go for a ride. And Keith's looking at Dan's car to see if he brought along a hacksaw or shovel. And Dan says there was a time when they could talk. And Keith says the last meaningful conversation that they had was who would win in a fight, Chewbacca or the $6 million man. And Dan answers Chewbacca would win and tells Keith to get in the car. He ends up getting in. And then, of course, the second Keith gets in, Dan locks the doors and they take off.
Now you're held hostage.
And then next we see Lucas and Mouth at the river court. Lucas tells Mouth Jimmy will show up.
I love when Jimmy just walks up and they're sneaking up on us.
Yeah, he scares them, yeah.
But how is he sneaking up? He's just walking up. It's not his problem and they can't hear him.
Yeah, well, Jimmy says that's not hard to do when you're basically invisible. But with me, I can be very quiet as a mouse when I'm walking into a room. I've scared my parents. I've scared coworkers just walking into rooms because they don't know I'm there until they turn around.
You scare coworkers?
Yeah, because the door, when you walk into the door, the desk is like parallel. So they would have to like push their chairs back then to see who actually walked in the office. So the office wasn't designed well that way. But yeah, so anybody
apparently mine can hear me.
Oh, yeah, not me.
Because like I'm short, so like my scrubs go like to the floor, so like they can hear me.
Oh, you didn't get them hemmed because everything's long on me too.
Listen, ain't got money for all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, my mom does know how to sew, so that's my advantage there. And then Lucas tells Jimmy that he's glad he's there, and Jimmy says he almost didn't show, but he figured it was the only way to get them to stop calling his house because they didn't call for a year, and then suddenly it's 5 times a day. And he asks him what's up with that. Yeah, and Lucas says,
"Now is it 5 times total, or is it 5 times Mouth and 5 times Lucas?"
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe both if it was, you know, that annoying to him. And then, you know, Lucas says it sucks that they lost touch and a lot of that's going on, you know, him and Mouth. But it's a two-way street and their phones didn't ring either. And Jimmy is disappointed that this is what Lucas wanted to tell him. So he makes a comment that he forgot how much fun this was and sorry he showed up.
I agree with Jimmy.
And then he starts walking away when Mouth says his name and Jimmy turns around and says, you know, oh, he speaks. Yeah. And that's what he's got to say to make up for a year of being left behind, being forgotten about. And Mel says, "How about I'm sorry? It's sex, but as a start." And Lucas then says to Jimmy that if he wants a long, drawn-out explanation for why things went down the way they did, he can probably find one for him. But they're here now, and they want to make things up to him for lost time.
So they want to invite him to the concert.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he kind of likes the idea.
Yeah. But he was hesitant because he didn't want to show his face in front of everybody after the time capsule release, which I completely get.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't go. I'd be like, can I go? Can I be homeschooled?
Mm-hmm. And Mel says that everybody went off and some even took things off.
Did you see Lucas though? I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I don't think Mel should have said that last part, but
no, like that's his girlfriend.
Oh, I was thinking of Anna because she took some of things off of her tape or redid it. So that's what I was thinking in my head.
No,
Oh yeah,
being topless.
No, okay.
I was like, dude.
I thought he meant a completely different thing.
No, that's why Lucas was like,
no.
Yeah.
And Lucas says, Jimmy, that mouth's right. Not everyone isn't worried about what he said. They're worried about what they said. So Lucas tells Jimmy to say yes.
True. If somebody said some trash talking on the time capsule about you, you would be going you would be like, where's this person? You would want to confront them. So don't even say that they're worried about what they said. They are, but they're also
it's
upset
both
about what you said. It's both. I don't agree with Lucas that it's only what they're worried about themselves. No, they're not.
Right.
Because I know I wouldn't be, and I don't think you would be.
Yeah, because we know Lucas is definitely proved wrong later. And then, Jimmy says, whatever. It's not really a yes, but he adds that if it's lame, he's leaving. And then Dan and Keith are also walking through a park because I said, because the three of them are walking, and so now Dan and Keith. And apparently, this is a park they used to go to as kids. Never saw this park before, at least this area. And then, Dan asks Keith if he remembers what happened when they were kids, and Keith says he just remembers about how he got to first base with Abby underneath the tree up against them. And Dan says, thinking further back, he'll give him a hint, the Dunlap brothers. So just then Keith remembers a memory in the same spot in the park when some bullies took Dan's lunch and they hit him in the nose. He's bleeding. And they tell him to eat his lunch or they'll make him eat it and call him Daniela, like Cinderella. And just then Keith comes over and pushes one of the brothers and tells him he can first. It was a really good push too. And the brothers run away, and Keith tells Dan, gives him a hand to pull him up and tells him that's what brothers do. They look out for each other. So I do kind of want to see with these flashbacks where the turn went, where they weren't looking out for each other anymore.
You're never going to see it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying I wish we could have. It's probably when Karen came into the picture, probably. But in the present, Dan tells Keith that it's like those guys read a handbook on bullying, picking fights, stealing lunches. But
I think it was when Keith was holding Lucas in the hospital.
Oh yeah, that's
I think Dan still felt like he had a chance until he looks and sees that.
Yeah, and Keith makes a comment about Dan getting bigger than all of them, the bullies, and Dan says back then he knew no matter what they would always stick together. And Keith tells him that was a long time ago. And then Dan mentions how far things have fallen for them. And he asks Keith, what does he think, make brothers enemies? And Keith tells Dan it was him, which he is right. And Dan replies the same.
What did you think when he gave him the ledger?
That never really, again, explained how he even got it. But because even Dan said, that was the only thing that he put in the safe before the dealership burned, and only two things came out, him and the ledger, somehow. But no explanation still of how that was possible. Because we know that Lucas saved Dan, but we know that Lucas didn't have the ledger to give to Keith, even though that would make sense.
And Deb didn't walk out with it.
Yeah, so
it's not like Keith said, go and get this.
Yeah, so it's just forever a mystery. And then Keith asks, if that's what he thinks, that he didn't pull him out because he had his hands full with the ledger while the other was holding the lighter to, set the fire. And, Keith asks, or says, Dan says, no, that's not what he thinks, Big Brother. That's what he knows. And he's holding,
The
he tells
key to his jail cell. That
yeah.
was good.
Mm-hmm. So, Dan tells him to not forget what it is. It's the key to his jail. Yeah, sorry, like you said, the ledger ties him to years of money laundering, fraud, and embezzlement. And Keith continues saying that that's the thing about a smoking gun, is it doesn't care who it's pointing at. So, do you think that was kind of foreshadowing too about the next episode as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's like a lot of little nuggets in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think this should have been like a part 1 of 2.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like it, but they didn't call it that. They should have, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he tells Dan he's still carrying around all this hate, just like he's been carrying around the ledger. So if he doesn't want to go to jail, he better get rid of them both.
I like when he said, I'm marrying Karen, Dan. Like, move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then
But then it was
Dan,
funny because I'll find my own way back home.
Yep. So hopefully the park wasn't far. I don't think it was, but. And then at Trick, Peyton and Brooke run into Karen and see her engagement
Brooke is
ring.
super excited.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny though, because she goes, get out. And Karen's like, this is my club.
Yeah.
That was funny. But then that's when, they talk about the engagement. And then, what are you, pregnant? What?
Mm-hmm.
How old is Karen? Like, really?
Yeah, I mean, she's still young enough to have a kid, but that's
no,
not
I'm
her reason
saying, saying she can't just get married.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing she did with Haley too. So that's just
yes, but there's a
question.
difference between getting married in your 30s and getting married when you're 16 or 17.
Right.
I mean, there's a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe in her head, that's the only reason why people get married is because they're gonna have a baby. I don't know. And then
she makes it awkward though by talking about being pregnant twice. Also, I have a marriage. It's like, really? And then Peyton has to stop her. Brooke that's her congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Brooke then says she has to make Karen's wedding dress, and she begs Karen, saying she loves weddings, which we already knew from Keith's last wedding.
It was funny because when Karen said, just promise me that I'll be something more than what you're wearing on that poster.
Mm-hmm.
And no feathers.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah. And Brooke understands those conditions, and they get excited again and hug Karen in like a 3-person hug. And then elsewhere, Haley is backstage when Nathan walks in to check in on her with a bouquet of flowers too, which is nice. And Haley's nervous about performing, and Nathan tells her she'll be okay. He says the flowers are for good luck, and they should find out what they are, because with the way things are going and he's growing up, they're going to have to, grow some, because there's not going to be any left to pick.
Yeah, and so here's the twist. We think it has everything to do with the time capsule. But
like he's making it up.
But the reason why he's making it up is what I sent you. And that is the deleted clip of this episode.
Okay.
And it's them once again talking about so in this deleted clip, Haley says, everything you know, would you still marry me all over again? And he says, some days. Not every day. Some days.
He's making up for what he said at that scene.
Yeah, because then right after that would be this. And it was like, okay. Because I think, their talk in his bedroom didn't go well. So then she was, so then he goes to see her in the apartment, and, she's all sad and stuff. And then that's when they talk about it, a little bit further. Of course, he's got to say something, and he does. And then, of course, it just gets even more awkward. And so it's like now he's making up for it with flowers. Because I thought too, because they don't show the clip because it's deleted. So you think it's about this. Now, like when I heard from like a video of like the creator, he said the reason why they took that scene out was because Nathan and Haley are finally getting back together. And this would have just been like a step back.
Okay.
Like putting the scene in. And like they're trying to work it out, but then putting the scene in, it's a step back. And I'm like, yeah, but he kind of is loving the life though.
Yeah.
You know, like his actions.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really think it would have been a bad scene. But also just knowing that it's out there, it's like just knowing what happens in the next episode and 2, it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, then he says that she has nothing to be worried about. She's going to be great. And then when he walks out
he
afterwards,
said,
she whispers,
"Accept us," or
yeah.
"Accept us,"
Mm-hmm. And then out in the crowd, Peyton welcomes the audience and thanks them for being there. She says that some of them may know Ellie Harp had recently, passed away from breast cancer. So
Do
tonight
any
they.
of those people, because this is
Mm-hmm.
Hill, do any of those people know Ellie?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Lucas was the only one that actually met her. So I don't know about everybody else in the whole town.
Because she moved away if she had lived in Tree Hill. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, it's just kind of strange. Like, what?
Right. Yeah, so Payne tells them that, the money for their tickets will go towards this foundation. And, then she thanks Sunkiss for helping tonight too as well. And then Payne mentions about the next performer had leukemia himself, but he fought it and kicked its ass. And tonight he's here to kick theirs. And she introduces Andrew McMahon and Jax Mannequin, and they begin performing. And backstage, Haley is sitting at the vanity, picking at the flowers that Nathan got her and smiling as she's doing so. And then go back to the band. We see Lucas, Mouth, Jimmy together in the audience, and Peyton and Brooke on the other side of on this other stage.
I like when Brooke said that both of your moms will be proud of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Like, I think she definitely needed to hear that, especially after the whole, after Ellie dying and stuff. Like, she needed that.
Mm-hmm. And then backstage, Keith surprises Karen from behind. He wraps his arms around her and kisses him. She kisses him. And then Lucas brings Mouth and Jimmy backstage. He says he's going to go find Haley. So then just Jimmy and Mouth. And Jimmy tells Mouth this is cool. And Mouth sees Brooke and tells Jimmy he'll be back.
Yeah. And then he goes, yeah, like, yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. And he says that maybe he'll introduce him to her later. And then, which is true because, they're friends. So he should have introduced Jimmy to Brooke. But Mouth walks up to Brooke saying that she can't possibly think that he could release a time capsule and that he smashed the cornerstone. That is the word I was looking for before. And then Brooke says maybe he pretended it was her windshield, which was a good point.
So what I didn't like was that he said that, his reason is he was trying, like he was erasing what somebody else had said. Like they wanted to erase what they said, which obviously was Anna. And I didn't like when she said who, and his response was, I swore I'd keep it a secret. Never coming back, Mouth. Really? Your
Right.
loyalty was to Brooke. Like in this scene, I was like, your loyalty is now to Anna? And the whole thing is, even if she wanted to erase something, all he had to do was say it was Anna, and that's it. He didn't have to say what Anna erased. All he had to do was say she wanted to erase something. And Brooke would have been like, got it. But the fact that he is like, I swear, I'll keep it a secret. What? So your loyalty is to Anna, who will never be seen again, and not to Brooke. Congrats, Mouth, on being like a bad friend. Like if you're trying to like make up with this person, that's not exactly what you would say.
Yeah, so Brooke asks, what is...
do you think he should have just said it was Anna?
Yeah, he could have if Brooke was pushing it like that and left it as that. Yeah. And then Brooke asks, what does somebody else said have to do with her recording? And, why do you have to watch it? She asks him and he can't answer her, because he's still trying to not say anything. But he says that he didn't watch enough of it to know that she took her clothes off because he didn't see anything. And she asks if he thinks that's what she's upset about. And she tells him that, there are private things on there. He violated her trust, their friendship, and guess she was wrong about what she said on the time capsule. He's not that guy she thought he would be in 20 years.
See, that's why he should have said the truth. Not exactly, you don't have to say what Anna said. All you got to say is she wanted to change it. That's all.
Yeah, and then I couldn't notice that there's a time or error about the time because she said 20 years, but in her tape she said 10 years. But yeah.
Oh, and all he had to say too was that Anna's was right after Brooks or something.
Right, yeah, because it was.
That's why he saw a clip.
Yeah.
Was because it was right. Like that's all he had to say.
Yeah,
but remember they also listened to Tim's.
And then Jimmy's walking around alone backstage when one girl walks up asking if he just got backstage because she wants to get into, and wants to know
those
who
guys are there.
Yeah, who never saw before either until now. And the one guy that has a name because nobody else is given a name later, but it's like Russ, and he tells the girl not to talk to Jimmy because he's a guy that was talking smack about him on the time capsule. And Jimmy tries to say, he's sorry, but Russ wouldn't hear it and starts beating on Jimmy while his friends hold him. And they would have done more damage, but Rachel comes out of nowhere and sprays Russ and his friends.
That was awesome.
Yeah, with pepper spray. And then the friends start fighting with her, pushing her down. That's when Lucas hurries over and punches the guy, and then him and Russ start beating Lucas like they did with Jimmy until Nathan shows up and starts hitting Russ. So it's just more and more people added. And Mouth is there too, but it's hard to see if he was fighting exactly. But that's when security shows up and they grab Russ and his friends. And then Mouth and Lucas find Jimmy on the floor hurt. Mouth asks if he's all right. Lucas tries to help him up, but Jimmy pushes him off and tells him to leave him alone, just to forget it and forget about him, and walks away. And then the band is still playing when Pete from Green Day walks up behind Peyton on the side of the stage. He asks her if she knows the side of the stage.
Where is he from?
Green Day?
No, Fall Out Boy.
Dang it. Okay. I remember double check because I couldn't remember. I was looking up the band and his name, and I don't know. I'm more familiar with Green Day, so that's why it's in my head more from back then. Yeah, so he asks who's next, and she says, without looking at him, Fall Out Boy. He says he's heard that the band sucks, but the bass player is pretty cool, and she then turns to see.
So apparently they know each other.
Yeah. Well, they performed at I say it's Halloween, but it wasn't. It was the masquerade ball party thing that they had where they dressed up.
Oh, is that where they met?
Yeah. But we didn't see, he wasn't actually he didn't talk to her, so we don't know this was a thing at all, but so it's not that random, but still pretty random because like I said, we didn't see them talk before this. And she thanks him for being there, and he says it's no big deal. They wouldn't miss it for the world. And with it being a great cause, he gets to see her again. And then he tells her that he'll be right back. He's going to save the world. And then that's when Patrick walks up and asks Peyton if Pete just told her they has to go save the world because that's his line. Now, I don't know if that's actually the line. I don't know if that was just written for them to say or if that was an actual thing that they do in real life. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then, so they get on stage. Pete introduces themselves, and then he says to Treehill that they love their breasts, so to make sure to take care of them. They start performing, and that's when Brooke stands next to Peyton, and Peyton says to her, "Hey," and Brooke says not to hate her because what's up with her and Hottie McHottie? And Peyton's confused on what she's talking about. I would be too, but then Brooke says to Peyton that to not even try it.
Yeah, the boy, because she's like, oh, the Fallout Boy. So
yeah, hitting on her. And she was definitely returning fire. And Payne explains her and Pete talked for 10 seconds. And Brooke tells Payne she moves fast. So she should ask him to check her for lumps, which was kind of inappropriate, Brooke. But, especially with this being for Ellie and all. But Payne tells her, that's not funny, which I agree. But Brooke says that he's a musician, so he has good hands. And then outside, Jimmy puts his glasses on, but they're broken. So he just throws them on the ground. And he takes a cigarette out to smoke it, but he can't find the lighter.
I love when Rachel walks up and lights it for him.
Yeah, and popping out again out of nowhere. I don't know why she keeps doing that. But then, yeah, so she lights it for him. And
I like when he, told her thank you and stuff. And she was like, to be honest, it wasn't about you. I just always wanted to pepper spray someone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. I'm really surprised she hasn't before.
Right. And then backstage with Nathan, Mouth, and Lucas, they're recovering from the fight. Nathan
apparently Lucas really got punched.
Yeah, 3 times in the jaw. And Lucas asks Mouth if he knows where Jimmy went, and Mouth says no, but he's going to go look for him.
Alone.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wish one of them already went to go, follow Jimmy.
Yeah, like right after. Yeah.
Yeah, because then they wouldn't have to search. Because, because Mouth was out there for a while, and he never even found him, so. And then, so Lucas holds his jaw, and Nathan asks Lucas if if they'll ever have a function in this town that doesn't end up in a brawl. And Lucas asks Nathan if it's a little too outsiders for him, and Nathan confesses he never saw that movie.
I like when, Lucas kind of apologized for the time capsule about what he said to Dan, and then Nathan's like, whatever, like we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when they do their little brother handshake and stuff. I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. And then Nathan goes to see Haley backstage again, but finds her on the floor under a desk. And she says she hangs out under there and to see in the finale to Les Mis, and explains that right before she was going to perform the first time on tour, she got really nervous and ended up just like this under a desk, and saying it's on over and over again. It was kind of the only thing that would calm her down. And he laughs at her, so she asks if he doesn't have any pre-game rituals.
I'm sure that he does.
Yeah.
And then it was weird because, like, well, what are you worried about? And it's like, even so, like, are you serious, Nathan? I'm sure you get a little nervous too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he says that she's played in front of people before, but she says she knows, but she's more worried about playing in front of him.
Yeah, just the one person.
Yeah. And just, loving the performing again. Because when she saw the time capsule, she got scared. Nathan asks, of what, and she says loving it again, seeing him seeing her love it again. And she's afraid that's going to, mess up everything that they have, and that it means that she loves him less. And then Haley gets the cue that she's up. The woman who tells her calls her Miss Scott, so Haley corrects her as Mrs. Scott.
And of course, Nathan, like, smiling. It was so cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I did like when he told Haley, like, don't be afraid to love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then when she walks out, Nathan now looks nervous himself.
I know. It's like, why do you say things if you don't mean it, though?
Mm-hmm. And then we see her perform Halo for the first time live. That's on the album. And while singing, Mouth goes to look for Jimmy in the parking lot. And at the side of the stage, a guy asks Nathan if he's Haley's husband.
That was good. You Haley's husband? Yeah. And then he said, she's talented. And I got to be honest, though, it's a shame she's not touring. She must really love you.
Yeah, you could tell he was nervous, too, thinking that he was like a guy that was going to talk about how hot Haley is or whatever.
No, I just think Nathan is just like this all over again.
Yeah.
Not that the guy likes or anything. It's just, she's going to be in a different world, like mindset than this. But you should want what's best for her and like what she wants and what's going to better her life, not to be in a small town like Dan did to your mom.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be thinking like that.
Yeah. And then backstage, Lucas finds Keith and Karen, calling them Mom and Keith, asking to talk to them. Keith says, sure.
Then he says, or should I say, Mom and Dad?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's when Lucas tells Keith that he would love to be a son. There's nothing else he'd want more.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all happy. And then back outside the parking lot, Mouth calls Jimmy on the phone, saying he's trying to find him. So call him back when he gets the message. And then Rachel walks up, asking Mouth if he's going to go back inside the club, and he tells her that he's trying to find his friend. And she asks why. Mouth says, because Jimmy is his friend, and Rachel says...
I will say, I didn't like when she said he's going to have to stand on his own 2 feet or he's going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
That's what friends are for. Mm-hmm. When you're drowning, they're supposed to lift you up and inspire you and help you. They're not supposed to suffocate you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, having like a friend watch you fall and not help, like what kind of, that's not a friendship. So clearly Rachel, I think that's why Rachel has no friends.
Yeah.
But it's just like, what? Like, no, Mouth needs to pick his friend up.
Yeah, Mouse, she says because they're all alone, and Mouse says not if they have friends, and Rachel says, Jimmy doesn't, so.
He used to.
Mm-hmm. And tells Maud to be honest with himself. He knows there's a reason they don't hang out anymore. And because he's hanging out with her, or Brooke, or Lucas, everybody can't be popular, because if they were, nobody would be popular.
Oh, maybe that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. And the mouth wishes a time capsule had never been opened. All it's done is cause people pain. And Rachel says the truth usually does, and then walks off. So again, it seems like, Rachel's kind of giving hints that she released it, even though it's never confirmed. And then backstage, Nathan walks in saying how awesome his girl was. They hug. Both seem happy, but then Nathan
But
says
then
he
he
has a
said he's
confession.
scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't want to tell her before because he knows how much this means to her, and she deserves to have nights like this.
Shouldn't
But
she have said this the next day, not the day of?
yeah, he's afraid to go through it all again. Haley
He's
tells him.
afraid to, well, and then he said he's afraid to be vulnerable again with her.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go from there?
Right.
Like this part, how do you go to like a couple episodes later?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Like again, it's like the Nathan and Haley, they just move super fast. That it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Haley says that if she had recorded a time capsule of her own, there wouldn't have been one word about music. It would have been
I
about
don't
him.
think that for a second.
Right, yeah.
I believe because back then, she was so into music that she lied to her own
Mm-hmm.
husband about making music with her. It's like she was so into that world that she would have talked about music. What is she talking about?
Right.
And so I did not agree with her. I agree the fact that she's only trying to do everything she can to get him back, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then the same woman from before tells Haley they're ready for her to give an encore, and make sure to call her Mrs. Scott this time. And Haley tells Nathan to promise her that when she gets back, he'll be here. And then we hear Whitey talk on the 2006 time capsule, saying it's been 50 years since he did this. And looking back on what he said those years ago, all the hopes and dreams he had, he's come to the conclusion that if having these things turn out the way he wanted them to, it's a measure of a successful life. Then some would say he's a failure. And he's watching the tape. Sadly, we see Dan in front of a fire,
I like
and
when he was talking about being like bitter over
mm-hmm,
life's disappointments.
yeah,
And of course, it's Dan.
mm-hmm, yeah. And then he throws the ledger into the fire, and what he says about letting go of the past, because we know Dan won't. And then, still in the parking lot, Mouth finally finds Jimmy's broken glasses. When Whitey says and recognizes every day won't be sunny, and when you find yourself lost in the darkness of despair, remember that it's only the black of night that you can see the stars. And then we see Karen, Keith, Lucas, and Brooke having a blast at the concert. Everyone is holding up their flip phones for light. And Whitey says, and those stars will lead you home. And Haley's on stage enjoying the energy and looking over at Nathan. And Whitey says to not be afraid to make mistakes, to stumble and fall, because most of the time the greatest rewards come from doing the things that scare you the most. Then we go back to seeing Whitey on the tape, and he says, maybe you get everything you wish for. And then we see a picture of Camilla on Whitey's desk, and he says, maybe you'll get more than you could ever imagine, and who
And
knows
then you
where
see
life
all
will
the
take you.
teams. Yeah.
Yep.
So I didn't really particularly like this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the high was the concert.
Mm-hmm.
100%. The one thing
Yep.
keeping me entertained.
Mm-hmm.
The low was the guys beating Jimmy up.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much the same, because not too many good things happen. So yeah.
What would you rate it?
Like an 8. And you?
7.
Mm-hmm.
And then who was your best and worst?
My best is Nathan, just because he's trying to be supportive of Haley now, but still also being honest with her at the same time about her music and performing again. And then my worst was whoever leaked the time capsule, even though, again, we don't know who it is, so I can't give a name. But yeah. And you?
Mine was my best. I picked Brooke.
Okay, yeah.
because she could have, because I feel like if it was anybody else, they would have went dark and depressed over, their boobs being shown. But she turned it around and made it about the benefit and everything, and supported Peyton for like the first time ever.
Right.
So I liked that part because she turned it around, which was good. And then the worst was that one guy who was calling out like that girl to not talk to Jimmy and stuff, and who like led the fight.
Russ.
Whatever his name is. He doesn't give
Yeah.
a name to me. He's a jackbutt.
Yeah.
All right. And then what's the next episode?
Episode 17, Who Will Survive and What Will Be Left of Them?
Like the saddest episode?
Yep.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.